So I have been knitting for about 2.5 months now, and I've been having the best time. I think in that time I've made about 12 or 13 projects, and I'm so proud of all of them, but almost all of them have been gift knits for other people. In fact, so far I have only made myself one thing, like intentionally. There's been a couple other things that didn't quite turn out, so I ended up keeping. But this Stay Toasty scarf by Veronica Lindbergh is the only thing that I have gone out of my way to make for myself. And I just love it. I'm so proud of it, and I wear it all the time. I didn't think I was a scarf person until this scarf. And after having literally just cast off another gift knit this afternoon, I've got nothing on the needles, and I'm just feeling an itch to make something for me. And yesterday I stopped by Maker Studio and I found this yarn that I just fell in love with. It's this glorious kind of lavender with specks of blue and navy and deeper purple. I just thought it was so pretty. I fell in love with it. I bought 2 hanks without realizing quite how expensive they were going to be, but they're just glorious. And I feel like this is the perfect opportunity, the perfect moment for me to pick out a really special scarf pattern and just spend the next week or so knitting something for myself for a change. Now, I don't know exactly which pattern I'm going to pick just yet. I've kind of been browsing a little bit, saving a few things on Ravelry, but I haven't made a firm decision. So I definitely want to find that balance with the pattern that I select between feeling like I'm learning something new, like I'm progressing, like I'm pushing myself, but also still enjoying the knitting process and feeling like it's at least hopefully going to turn out kind of okay, especially considering how expensive this yarn was, you know. I really want this scarf to turn out glorious, the kind of scarf that I want to wear every day. So yeah, we're back with another knitting project vlog. I enjoyed the last one so much, I just couldn't help myself. And I would love for you to join me on the journey of making myself a fancy new scarf with this fancy new yarn. If that sounds like a good time to you, grab yourself a cup of tea, get cozy, and I have some decisions to make about which pattern we're going to cast on this evening. I sat down here so you could see Ollie. You're welcome. It has been many hours since we started this video, and the only explanation I have is that I panicked. I was going through Ravelry. I was trying to make some decisions about which pattern we might do. I ended up kind of picking one, downloading the pattern, looking at the chart, freaking out, then picking a different pattern, downloading that pattern. The chart was even more scary. Clearly, I have decided to go hard mode for this, and I don't know whether I should back out, you know, well, before anybody gets hurt, or if I should double down. If I should double down, commit, and just like try to do the hard thing and see how it goes. Anyway, so the 2 patterns I picked out were Lotus Pond, this one. So I was kind of thinking that maybe I could try out some lace. She's 10 weeks into her knitting career and thinks she can do lace. Oh my God, what are we doing? Gorgeous. I just love the kind of geometric nature of the lace. I think it looks really cool. Freaked out when I saw the chart. Obviously I can't show you it because it's a paid pattern and we're not about that here. Just suffice it to say that when I looked at that, I just, my eyes were crossing, like all the little boxes were so tiny. I have knit from a chart once, and that was for the Stay Toasty scarf. So anyway, after freaking out over this glorious scarf that I would one day like to knit, I then downloaded the Dewdrop scarf. I don't know if it looked any simpler, maybe it did in my head. But all the notes for the listing on Ravelry, like they seemed very thorough. Like they were, you know, talking about how this is approachable and totally doable for advanced beginners. I don't know if I'm quite there, but I feel like I'm approaching that. Maybe overconfident beginner is a better word for me. But it also said that the pattern is both written out and there's charts and you can move between the 2 of them, and it's designed to be as approachable as possible. So, you know, kind of got my confidence up. I download this one. The chart's just as bad, if not worse. Terrifying. Absolutely. What am I doing? And the audacity of me to think I can turn this string into something this gorgeous 10 weeks into my knitting journey. Like, who the fuck do I think I am? Anyway, so clearly I haven't cast anything on. I've just kind of, you know, when you get into one of those like procrastination freeze states, I'm in one of those. I've been in one of those for the last few hours. You know, I felt like after our last video with me making Ollie's little jumper, which is actually right here, I'm still so proud of this. This was my first time knitting in the round. It was my first time kind of making some kind of garment, aside from literally the only other things I've made are gloves and scarves. So this was a huge step up. And I guess the relative success of this, it's far from perfect, the relative success of this has just gone to my head a little bit, I think. And yet I still really want to knit with this yarn, and I really want to make myself something nice. Do I go back to the drawing board and try and find something way simpler, or do I just give it a go? What do you think, Ollie? Ollie's not being very supportive right now. So I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I should just have a little play around, like no pressure, just like try and see if I can kind of knit something sort of like one of the charts and just play around with it. A little bit of a practice run, you know? So keep your fingers crossed for me. Let's see how this goes. What do you mean? What do you mean? I don't get it. I don't get it. Should I try the other one? I'll try the other one. You know when you start to feel like maybe you're actually getting good at something and then you're just humbled so hard? I feel like I might actually be making something now. Like, should I just keep going at this point, Blair?
You're too far in.
You have no idea how big this is going to be, do you? At this point, it's just a very cute little flag. This pattern, so the one that I'm doing is, I forget the name of it. It's this one. It's the one that actually Blair picked out that you thought I should do. The other one, there is a thing in it that I just don't understand. Maybe at some other point, I'll look back and I will get it. But for now, I was looking at that chart just being like, what do you mean? What do you mean? So I decided to switch over to this one and have a little bit of a play. And I'm like up to row 20. I got a little flag. Now I know this is nothing in comparison to what's ahead of me, but all of a sudden I feel like I can do it. I'm confident again, arguably overly confident. But I mean, sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need to be a little bit too confident to get something started, you know? I got a cup of tea. It's starting to get late. So I think I'm just going to work to the end of this little section and then we'll catch up tomorrow and see how we're going. Hopefully I won't have to frog the entire thing, but you never know with knitting, do you? We need to pivot, just like Ross Geller. Pivot. We're going to pivot so hard right now because I don't know how much of the last few days I'm going to show you in this video, but I have been knitting and I cannot tell you how many times I have frogged back and then tried to knit and then frogged back and tried to knit. Are you okay there, Ollie? I feel like if we were honest with ourselves, we could have seen this coming. I haven't even been knitting for 3 months and I thought I could attempt a lace pattern. Absolutely not. I mean, like, I physically have been able to knit the pattern. I think my thing is that I don't have enough skill around tinking and frogging and like picking up stitches and all of that sort of stuff, especially when it comes to yarn overs. Those are skills that I need to improve before I can come to lace. Do you know what I mean? Because every time I make a little mistake, it feels like the end of the world and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what I'm doing. And then I start frogging and I don't even know how to pick up my stitches because there's yarn overs and it's just a mess. So anyway, I made another mistake again last night. I think I made like 3 last night. I swear to God, I've probably knit like 150 rows, but there's only 80 here because that's how many times I've had to frog back. And I think the reality is I'm just not ready for this. So basically what we're here to do today is to frog and to give up on this pattern, at least for now. And so in the meantime, I have found a new pattern that I want to try. It is still going to be something new for me. It is the Amour scarf by Ankerstrick, I think. So I think there are only 2 new techniques that I will have to kind of figure out in order to be able to knit this. And that is a make 4 left. I know how to make a 1 left, but make 4. And then there's also a decrease 4 left. So that's the new plan. I suppose I need to start by frogging and rewinding my ball. And then we can cast on what is hopefully going to be the scarf for this video. Took us a little while to get there, but I mean, it was a fun little detour. Let's call it that. I have just finished the cast on section. Isn't it cute? I love like the really rounded shape. I haven't knit something like that before. I mean, obviously it's tiny. We're at the very, very early stages, but now I need to move on to the setup section. And that does involve me learning how to do this make 4 left. Make 4 left on our very, very next row. So we're diving right in, apparently. I think this is going to be the make or break as to whether this is an approachable pattern for me. Can I figure out this stitch? I'm hopeful I can. I feel like I can. I'm really not keen to give up on another pattern after everything I went through with the last one. So let's see if I can figure this out. should have 12 stitches on my needle now. 12, I've got 12. So I think I've done it. I think we just keep going. I don't know, I feel like I need someone to check my work before I carry on, but ain't nobody here except Blair and Ollie, and I don't think they have the foggiest. Blair just yelled out that he thinks it looks good from the opposite side of the apartment. So obviously he's the authority on this. So I guess I'm just going to keep knitting.
It's a wet Ollie. She just had a bath.
Ollie's just had a bath. Thank you, Blair. Blair's washing Ollie. I'm knitting. Domestic bliss. Let's carry on. Hello, we have an update on the knitting. The new scarf, it's going well. Look at it! Look at it! Oh my goodness! Once I got started, I just kind of couldn't stop. I genuinely didn't want to stop knitting last night. So obviously it is a bit curly and I'm going to have to block it when we're done. But can you see the texture? I'm hoping you can kind of see the texture starting to come through. What do you think, Ollie? Do you like it? Well, I think I'm going to have leftover yarn, so would you like me to make you a mini one? Maybe we can make Ollie a matching one. Okay, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm just really enjoying this, and the make 4 left is definitely it's a bit fiddly, but I think I've figured it out and it seems to be going okay. And I'm just really enjoying knitting this, actively enjoying the knitting process, whereas I wasn't really with the last one. I thought it was looking cool and it was fun to kind of push myself, but it was hard to sink into the flow of it because it was just a little bit too hard. Could I have done it? Maybe if I had to, sure. But I don't have to knit. I want to knit. And so I want to enjoy knitting, you know? And so this is definitely much more where I'm at currently. I still get to learn 2 new techniques. I still get to practice my knitting, but I also get to have fun and enjoy it too. I also really like this pattern. The last pattern, I'm sure that there was a pattern within the pattern, you know, a recurring kind of thing that I could have figured out. I was so reliant on the pattern. Every stitch I was checking to make sure I was doing the right thing. But with this one, yeah, I've got the pattern up for me to reference when I want to or when I need to. But for the most part, I can kind of just look at what I'm doing and figure out what needs to be done next from there. So I'm just really liking this. It's kind of that right balance between easy enough that I can get into a flow, but also engaging and interesting. And I also just think it's going to turn out really pretty. So that's making me excited and definitely adding to the motivation to just keep knitting and to finish it eventually. Although having said that, it's kind of like when you're in the middle of a really good book, yeah, you want to read to find out what happens, but at the same time, you kind of don't want it to be over. I sort of feel like that with this. It's a really nice feeling. It's a really nice feeling. Anyway, the pattern is pretty flexible. I have done, I think, 3 or 4 of the increase sections so far. And for the small scarf, if you want to do the small scarf, that's all you need to do. And then there's kind of just a straight section before you then do the decreasing. I'm not exactly sure how big I want mine to be, but I don't want it to be too small. So I think I'm just going to keep going with the increases for now. So yeah, I guess I'm happy. I'm having a great time. And oh my God, can you imagine? This purple is going to look so nice with this bright red jumper. I just think this kind of color... It's just the kind of color I like wearing. It's definitely going to fit into my wardrobe really well. I suppose while we're here, I thought I could tell you a little bit about why I got into knitting, how I got into knitting, and when. Because I know for so many people, I think I'm quite similar. I sort of picked up needles across my life, but I only really feel like I started knitting 2-3 months ago. Basically, my grandmother, I remember as I was growing up, she was just always knitting. It was almost like this compulsion. She had to do something with her hands. So often she would knit when she was watching a movie, watching telly, just sitting and talking to you. And I remember just being mesmerized by how she could move her hands and make stuff. I just thought it was so cool. And I do remember asking her to teach me to knit multiple times when I was young, but we lived really far away from them. And I only ever actually saw them in person maybe once or twice a year. So obviously that complicated things. But I remember there was maybe once or twice during my kind of pre-teens, maybe early teen years, where she did teach me to knit. She taught me to cast on and she taught me how to do a knit stitch, and I would just kind of knit a rectangle and just keep going. But it's I would get home and I wouldn't know how to cast off, and I would have forgotten how to cast on by then, and then I would just kind of fall out of it. I'd give up. I'd stop trying. And then in late 2022, when she passed away, it just was this real sadness, not only of losing my grandmother, but of losing all of her knowledge and her wisdom. And a part of that for me was her knitting. This is the granny, by the way, that used to be Ollie's family. And I do think it's interesting, especially with skills like knitting. I think obviously boomers and the great generation, people before them, I think a lot of these skills were passed down through family members or like sometimes through schools. But a lot of the time it was like something that you learnt from your family. And I don't know, I feel like with boomers and then Gen X, around those kind of periods, there's a real disconnect with a lot of those skills that used to be like taught by family. I think because a lot of those skills we were outsourcing, there was a lot of like convenient stuff happening. But I do feel like now, especially, a lot of us are kind of recognizing how incredible and how important those skills were and are. And so we're trying to like rediscover them. But for a lot of us, we've lost that direct connection. And so we're kind of having to reconstruct it ourselves. But anyway, after she passed away, I kind of knew that like I'd always wanted to knit. I always had this plan that I would learn to knit. I'm in my 30s now. My grandmother's dead. Like, when are you going to learn it, Katey? Anyway, pretty soon after that, I very seriously injured my hand. So I wasn't able to knit. But during that time with my hand injury, I really got into wearing fingerless gloves and fingerless mittens just to kind of help because, you know, pain often gets worse when an area is cold. And it was my friend at work, my manager actually, Danny, who said to me, oh, I would love some fingerless gloves. And I don't know where this thought came from, but I just had this thought. And I think I said to her, I'm like, oh, I'll make you some. I'm going to learn to knit. And so last year when my hand was kind of starting to feel a little bit better, I did. I tried to knit her some fingerless gloves. And I did make us each some gloves. They weren't very good, and Danny's ended up being way too small. I think I did the cast off way too tight, all of that sort of stuff. And around that time, I also had a big flare up with my hand. So my knitting career was kind of cut quite short. Anyway, April this year, I had the thought that it was Danny's birthday coming up in May, and I should probably try and make her some gloves for her birthday. And so I got back into knitting. I started with making Danny some more of those gloves, and they're still pretty simple, but I made them bigger and they actually fit her now. And it does make me sad that I'm now knitting some really cool things that I think Granny would be so proud of me, and it makes me sad that I can't call her up and tell her about it. But equally, I think it's really cool that every time I knit, I think of her. I don't know, my knitting is almost like a little tribute to her. I learnt because of her, I had an interest in knitting because of her, and when I knit now, I think of her. But I think that's enough talking about knitting. Now I actually need to go do some knitting because this scarf is not going to knit itself. So it's been a few days and I've been knitting along, and do you want to see how much I've done? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? It keeps going. It keeps going. It's definitely like curling in on itself, so it doesn't look as wide as I think it's going to look. But like, I've been knitting. I have been knitting. And I cannot get over this texture. It's so pretty. I don't know what this is called. I mean, I know that in this pattern, they call it the Amour pattern or armor pattern. Maybe it's armor. Armor? I don't know. But essentially it's just kind of like a 3x1 rib that you kind of like offset every few rows. It's pretty simple in terms of actually knitting it. And now that I've knit quite like this much, I definitely feel like I'm in the flow of it. I don't have to look at the pattern all that much except just to check in, make sure I'm on the right track. Over the last few days, I have made a handful of mistakes, just like careless kind of mistakes where I will just like knit a bunch instead of doing some purls, stuff like that. And there's been a couple of times where I haven't realized it for like a couple of rows later. And so there has been a handful of times where I've had to go back and make some corrections, and I've intentionally tried to like practice tinking. So tink, for those of you who don't know, is literally the reverse, the word itself, the reverse of knit. So it's knitting backwards. So it's undoing your knitting by knitting, if that makes sense. So rather than doing what I did with Ollie's jumper and just like pulling the yarn out and then picking up the stitches with your needle, you're like actively kind of like undoing your knitting as you go. And as we have learned with the lace pattern earlier, tinking and kind of undoing and correcting my knitting is something I definitely need to learn. And I think you can only really learn that so much through theory. Ultimately, you have to practice it. And so I have been taking every opportunity, every moment where I get a little frustrated with myself realizing I've made a mistake, I'm like, but now I get to practice tinking. This is a good thing, right? So I do feel like I've got it down as far as knit stitches are concerned. I'm still kind of trying to figure out purl stitches and like making sure I'm not twisting them or whatever. But anyway, point is, I'm practicing. And as Sophie says, our Lord and Savior Sophie, she literally has no idea who I am, and yet I'm like quoting her as if like her words are the Bible to me. Everything in knitting is worthwhile. Everything in knitting is worth doing. I can't remember which one it was. I kind of alternate between the two. She said one, but you know, ultimately it means the same thing. And she's right. Of course she's right. Hello, Ollie. Ollie wants to come up. Of course Ollie wants to come up. So anyway, that's how much knitting I've done. I've done a whole lot, I feel like. It is starting to feel a little bit repetitive. I'm not going to lie. I'm feeling a little, what's the word? Not frustrated, but just like impatient, I guess, with the whole experience. And it's tricky because like, obviously we tried the lace pattern and that was just too hard for me. at the moment. So I just kind of wish that there was like a middle step, a middle ground between where I am now and something like lace. I don't know what that looks like. And it's kind of hard to know until you actually like get the pattern, download the pattern and look at it. At least I find it hard to know because, you know, I'm still learning. I'm still figuring all this stuff out. So I've long finished the increasing section. This is different from the Sophie scarf and the Stay Toasty scarf. In both of those patterns, you kind of just keep increasing until you get to the middle and then you start decreasing. So it kind of becomes this triangle. Whereas with this one, you kind of increase faster and then you just kind of knit along and then you decrease. Ollie's watching my hand. I love it. No treat. Sorry, honey. Anyway, so I've done my increases and I've just been kind of knitting along for a while. I think I've done 6 repeats, which is more than the pattern says for the medium scarf. From memory, I think you're supposed to do 5 repeats for the medium length scarf, but comparing it to my Stay Toasty and kind of like how long I think I want to be or for it to be, I think I'm only about halfway through. Like I think I want it to be longer than what the pattern says the medium length is and quite a bit longer. So I've done 6 repeats, which is already more than what the pattern says you should do before you start decreasing. And I think I want to do that again, or roughly there anyway. So that's what I'm up to. I'm knitting along, chugging along, and I think it's going to turn out really good. I just want to take my time with it and enjoy the process rather than forcing it. Because I think I've done a lot. I think this has been 3 or 4 days of knitting this entire scarf so far. So I feel like I've made some good progress. And it's not a race, you know? I'm not in a race with anybody. This video, I don't even know if this video is going up or not. I'm just making it for me, more or less. So I'm going to carry on knitting, but I'm also going to make time for hanging out with Ollie and reading some books and going for walks and enjoying myself too. Hello, I am here on this cold Melbourne afternoon, all rugged up on the couch with Ollie. Best place to be. Got a cup of tea. I'm having a good time. I know I said that this scarf was going to take me a while. I was going to slow down. Well, in the last 36 hours or so, I don't know what to tell you. I really locked in, I suppose. And let me just show you. I was about to sit down and start doing some knitting, but I realized I'm kind of nearly finished, so I probably should show you first. So clearly, firstly, I've been doing the decreases because this, where I'm at, is a whole lot less wide than where I was. And do you want to see how long it is? Look, look, look. Oh my God, I need another hand. Look, it just keeps going. Are you proud of me? I'm proud of me. So I'm nearly finished. I'm nearly finished this scarf. I'm kind of playing yarn chicken, sort of. I mean, of course, I have another whole ball, which I'm curious to see if I can finish this. I don't think I can, but it'll be funny if I can finish this with one ball. Either way, I'm going to either have an entire ball or a little less than an entire ball left over. And I feel like we need to do something with this too. So I haven't quite finished my scarf yet, but I'm already starting to think like, what about this? What are we doing with this? I didn't have any other plans. I mean, I know I joked about making Ollie a matching little bandana or something. Maybe we'll have to do that because I don't want to leave this languishing. I don't want to just like put it in a box and forget about it because it's such lovely yarn. And honestly, it's been really nice to work with too. It's really, really soft merino wool. And I know a lot of merino wool is soft, but it's just really, really soft on the hands when you're working. And on top of that, it's much less splitty than some of the other wools I've been working with. I'm no expert, obviously, but from my limited knowledge, this is my favorite yarn that I've worked with so far. And so obviously I want to continue working with it. And we've got a whole other ball of yarn to play with. So while I'm sitting here with Ollie, finishing off this scarf in the next hour or two, I'm going to be mulling over my options for what to do with like 200 meters of this or so. Should I make something for Ollie? Should I make something for me? Should I do something entirely different? I don't know. That's for me to figure out now and for you to find out in just a minute. Okay friends, we're here at the end showing off mine and Ollie's matching scarves, and I feel like we look amazing. What do you think, Ol? I'm really happy with the length of my scarf, although I have blocked it and it is still kind of curly, so I don't know. If you have any thoughts on that, how I can fix that, please let me know in the comments below. This newbie knitter needs some help. But I think the texture of the armor scarf turned out really pretty, and I just think this wool knitted up really pretty too. And as I've already mentioned, this color, I think it's just perfect for me and my wardrobe. So I'm pretty happy, and I'm proud of myself for persevering, even though we kind of started out with a little bit of a challenge with the lace. I'm glad we pivoted and ended up with something that I can actually see myself wearing long term. As for Ollie's little bandana, this it is sort of inspired by, Blair actually bought me a Knit for Your Dog book last year, and there was a little bandana in that book. All of the options were too big for Ollie, so I kind of took that as inspiration, but sort of did my own thing. And I think it's adorable. It fits her perfectly. It's very easy to put on and off, and it's just such a pretty colour on you, isn't it, Ol? So I think in the end, we make a perfect little team, a perfect little duo. I mean, we always have, but now we have the outfits, the matching outfits to prove it. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for yet another knitting video. Ollie wants to hop down. I hope you had just as much fun as I did. A big thank you to my lovely patrons over on Patreon, and especially big thank you to Livia, Belinda and Hayley, and everybody over there, and for you for making it all the way to the end. I would love to play the same game that we played last time. If you want to leave some emojis that you feel like sum up this video, whether like literally or in spirit. Get creative with the emoji expression. I can't wait to decode your messages, and I will see you again next week for probably an entirely different video. Until then, happy knitting, happy reading, happy living. Bye!